Hey everybody, it's Gerald with Channel Android, and I wanted to give you a overview of the Motorola Droid 3's hardware. Before I dive into the phone, there's a couple things I wanted to point out. When I did my unboxing, I was not sure where the LED was on this, and I mistakenly thought this was the proximity sensor, which this is actually the LED, and right next to it, which you can't see, is a proximity sensor. Something really cool about this LED is it could be any color. So if you have software that can change the color of the LEDs for notifications, this will work with that. Another thing I wanted to point out was on the back was the SD card. As you can see, you do not need to take the battery out to be able to get to this SD card, which is really cool. Once you take it out and you put it back in, the software automatically unmount it and mount it as needed, so you don't have to do anything with it. Here's the SIM card. You do have to take the battery out to be able to get this in and out, and this will only work overseas outside of the US. A US SIM card will not work in here, whether it's locked or unlocked. So I just wanted to point those two things out. Let's get the battery cover back on. And let's dive into the phone. So the first thing you'll see is it's actually a pretty snappy phone. Even with the Motorola Blur, it runs really smooth. Good to show you that. Not too much jerkiness whatsoever. This has the OMAP 4430 processor, which is a 1 gigahertz dual core Texas Instruments processor, and it works beautifully. The first thing I want to point out to you is that I don't know if you can really see it on this video. You might be able to a little bit. This Pentile screen, you do get the what I've heard other people refer to as the screen door effect with this phone, which that means is if you look really, really close, it's almost pixelated. Now, generally, that doesn't affect too much, but there is times you'll see it in some screen transitions. You'll be able to see it sometimes in video. Besides that, the screen itself is really nice. The colors are vivid. It has really nice viewing angles. The glare really isn't too bad. So even though you do get that screen door effect, this screen is still a beautiful, beautiful screen. Let's dive into some benchmarks. The first one we'll do is the LinPack benchmark, and we're getting some pretty good scores on it. Let's give it a run. 69 megaflops. That's pretty good. Let's give it another run. 53. 61. So this is getting some pretty good scores on LinPack. And if you noticed, I was using the multi-threaded test that's made for dual-core processors. So let's try another one. Let's do a smart bench test. This one is made specifically for dual-core, and this is the newest version, 2011. So let's give it a run. Okay, now that it's done, let's see the results. And look at that. So now let's do the quadrant test. I know people don't like quadrant. They don't believe that it's testing it too well, but it's still a good benchmark. So let's give that a run. Okay, now it's complete. Let's give it a look. And that's a pretty good run. At you can't really see it on there, but it scored a 2199. Oh, you almost got it. You know what? Let's run that again. And let's see what the results on this one is. And now 2234. And you still can't see that, but I assure you that's what it says. So this runs really, really well. Benchmarks pretty well. Again, this is a OMAP 4430 with 512 megs of RAM. It is a QHD Pentile display. A couple of design flaws I think it has. First of all is having the USB cord so low on the bottom. You can't really hold it with your left hand. If you remember the Droid, the original Droid, had it up here more, which is a lot more comfortable to hold. Another thing that they did, which is kind of odd, is this speaker hole gets very tinny and very echoey, especially if it's on something. So the sound quality is not that great. But in the end, the hardware on this phone is beautiful. There's not many other phones out there that is as quick as it. It might only have 512 megs of RAM. You do not feel it. You don't feel any lagginess. You don't have a lot of force closes. You don't have a lot of redraws of the launcher, which is very, very nice. You press the launcher, and there it is. So that was an overview of the Motorola 3's hardware, and stay tuned for the software.